Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for this meeting that I really want to stay for. I have a prior engagement, but I wanted to make a quick comment and preface my comments. I just wanted to say it. Listening to the minutes from the last meeting and already at the beginning of this one, it's just, you guys are in a real tough spot. You know, being in the position you are as representatives, to govern is much different than to advocate or oppose for a position. To govern is much more difficult. And so I don't envy you on some of these topics that cities all across the country have struggled with. And you guys are having to struggle with a lot of them over the last several months. And so I just want to thank you for that. Basically, I think I just wanted to talk about image and the city of Seaside's image, because I think whether it's land use, whether it's marijuana, or whether it's homelessness, a lot of the concerns are all around image. And a lot of that concern is coming from a minute portion of this town that we know as the Broadway core, and the landowners and the business owners there that often this council seems to represent more so than the base of this town, which is the 6,000 service workers that work here, that work for less than minimum wage, that work for less than a living wage. There's nowhere to live in this town. Believe me, I know. Unless you want to, for $700 or $800 a month, rent something that you would not want any of your children to live in, that's what's available here. Anything more expensive than that, you can't afford working at Safeway or McDonald's or some of these restaurants that run this town. Without the service workers, without the coffee vendors, without the people behind the hotel desk, without the people working at the stores, Seaside wouldn't exist. They are Seaside. And yet their views and the way they look at this town and their priorities often seem to either be forgotten or not listened to. And I don't think it's coming from this council. I've come to respect you quite a bit for your independence, for your leadership, and your willingness to change your mind. I think on some of these other issues, we've got a bunch of difficult decisions to make. But I think around image, where we're making a mistake, is grabbing onto this Dan Quayle 1970s version of what America is supposed to be. 2 cars in the driveway working at the corporation with mom and dad at the PTA. That America ended in the 70s, if it even was there then. And the 90s are 20 years ago. We've got gay marriage, we've got marijuana, we've got wars with drones, we've got, this world is a very different place. We've got former Olympians who are now being celebrated as trans. This world is very different than the Seaside some of you are trying to hang on to. And I would just suggest to you that if there was a younger group of you here, maybe this city could begin to look at some future thought differently than the way it's looked at it in the past. Maybe instead of trying to appeal, you know, I spoke to my family. I brought my family here in the 90s when I worked at Nike for years. I owned a home in Wallowa, and we came to Seaside, and we walked the boardwalk, and we went to the beach, and we went to the restaurants. Now my son brings my grandchildren here, and they do the same thing. And I asked them, what have you noticed that's different? And, you know, they didn't say anything about the homeless people. They didn't say anything about seeing a marijuana leaf somewhere. What they said was, all the trees, my granddaughter said, all the trees are gone. Granddad, they don't even bother leaving the ones up on the edge of the highway so you can't see the clear cuts. They've just taken it all now. And I tell you, I stand at my window in my shop, and all day long, those logging trucks, 50,000 pounds on them, roar through our town at 40 miles an hour, and with 50,000 pounds on them. I counted 28 of them the other day. You want to talk about image? We all know how we feel when we drive through Roseburg or Aberdeen and those dark logging towns. That seems more and more like what's happening here, and we're worried about the wrong things here. This country's changed, people have changed, and in my view, I ask all of you to start to consider whether or not the view and the vision you have for Seaside really fits what the people want that live here. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, and whatever you decide, it's up to you, but I'd really like to see some forethought and a little bit more future thinking about what this town's going to become rather than what it used to be, and what some of you are trying to hold on to simply doesn't exist anymore. But thank you.
Well, Mr. Geiger, I don't think you're totally up to date if you haven't read our vision plan.
I've actually read it, sir.
Okay, that was made up by all kinds of people.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes?